What's going on? We're back here with some more CZN, and we are going to be talking about if you guys are struggling with tier 16, how can you hopefully overcome that? And that's what I'm going to be doing. So before we get into talking about combatants and debuffs, there are some important advice I do want to give you guys just to make your runs a bit more smoother. Alright, so the first one's going to be the 2 characters you are not building. Obviously, when you're doing a chaos run, you're using 3 characters and you're probably trying to build out 1 character. So with the other 2 characters, I would say don't be afraid to put some neutral cards on them, you know, just so you could draw for your deck a bit more, maybe even apply some vulnerability or the spores meta, because well, spores are kind of OP, but just like small things like that. Don't be afraid to put like some neutral cards on your 2 characters you are not building, just so it could help your DPS if you're building one, obviously cycling through your deck. And even if you're not, just putting them on your characters could just help you go through your deck and apply some stuff to the enemy where you could do more damage. Another one is the gear, right? Obviously, you know, a lot of the time we might want to, you know, sell the gear so we could get our credits up, which is totally fine, especially because of some of the debuffs in the chaos. It makes sense, right? But don't, you know what I'm saying, try to put some gear on your other characters, especially in the HP slot, just so your HP bar is bigger and, you know, more survivability. You could take a bit more damage. And also on your healer, try to put a defense piece on them, because for the people that don't know, well, healing scales of defense for some reason, okay? So yeah, whatever healer you're bringing, which you should be, make sure you guys have some defense on them just so they could do more healing. And the third and last advice I want to get into is the arenas. Number 1, you guys should definitely be going to the arena on the normal one and on the interior side. Even if you're not building a DPS unit, you still could get some nice refinements that could be used for support characters. But even not, still having those, you know, damage refinements on your DPS units to help you carry you through the chaos run could come in clutch. Now we got that advice out of the way, we're going to get into talking about combatants. Oh, we got Mel. Oh, okay, that was random assault. But look, let's go to the combatants. So look, number 1, 9, Serenue, both OP. Okay, we know they're amazing characters. They both do a ton of damage. Well, 9 does a ton of damage. Serenue does a ton of small damage, which just adds up. Okay, so if you do have 9, you shouldn't really be struggling. If I'm being honest, man, she's insane. If you are still kind of struggling with 9, my advice could be maybe using Ironclad, because Ironclad does very good DPS and it also gives shield, so it gives you that more extra survivability. And with Serenue, obviously a whole bunch of homing lasers, those 2 characters together definitely should be able to complete the run. Those characters individually still should be able to complete the run. Now, if maybe you don't want to use them or you don't have them, that's where I'm going to be coming in to help with the combatants. So number 1, you always want to have a healer, okay? Whether that's Naja, Mika, or Olia. Those 3 characters are going to be great healers. And remember, healing scales off defense. So make sure you have them built up with defense. Now, if you do want to go the extra mile for a bit more survivability, you could pair one of those 3 healers with a Ray or Nia, because these 2 characters could heal. I don't think they could heal enough alone, so it's better to partner them up. And well, they're obviously good as well. Ray's really good for void DPS units. She could buff damage, do all that nice stuff. Even non-void units she could also buff. Nia is also great. She has a bit of healing, could really buff up extra attack damage and DPS overall. And she's a really good drawer as well. Like, you don't need to, you know, get a whole bunch of neutral cards for her to draw. You know, she has Nia's Curiosity, she has the Adagio. You know, she could give you guys a bit of draw, which is going to be really good for your DPS unit, of course. And honestly, I advise to build Ray and Nia every season, because they're just 2 good support characters. When it comes to DPS units, obviously if you want to run the 2 double DPS, which you could, just so you could deal out more damage, you could definitely go with 2 characters that work really well together. A lot of DPS units, well, nah, not every DPS unit works well with Veronica, of course, because Veronica just does nice passive DPS where you don't need to use a whole bunch of AP on her, right? You use 1 AP so she could use her ballista at the end of every turn, and that's pretty much it. And she also has good draw potential, which is going to help your DPS units, right? So Veronica is a really nice one. Another one which I'm liking lately is actually Hugo, because they've actually gave him some changes where he straight up has the initiation card, so you're able to get the commence the hunt. And think about it, if you're doing a whole bunch of attacks with your DPS unit, he could hit up to like 5 times minimum, right? So he's just really nice, and he could do really good damage. He's also got some nice cards overall. Like this one here, upon gaining commence the hunt, draw 1 attack card. Yes, it's only 1 per turn, but you know, there's a lot of 0 cost skill cards. So this is really nice, and is a guaranteed attack card, which I think is dope. Then you've also got quick fix, which could draw another attack card. So it's like he's drawing and doing a whole bunch of damage for you passively, right? So it's kind of nice to have a character like Hugo. In my opinion, I think he's actually really good, and you can pair him up with a lot of DPS units. Plus he's also order as well, which gives him that added bonus. But yeah, that's kind of my advice with combatants. Bring one of the 3 healers in Naja, Mika, and Aulia. Have 2 DPS units that work really well, or if you want to go a bit more survivability, you could bring one of those 3 healers with a Ray and Nia, then a DPS unit. But do bear in mind, I do think bringing a solo DPS unit, if you're going to bring a solo DPS unit, bring a solo DPS unit that's good at the start, and they don't need a whole bunch of epiphanies for them to finally start going. Now we're going to get into the debuffs, okay? So you can look at this one I have here, right? This is a disgusting tier 16. Obviously it's tier 16 when you go to nightmare mode, but yeah, this is a disgusting one. Look, we got Tyrant 4, then we've got Plague on it, and Fortitude, and Discard. Yeah, this is disgusting. You probably want to stay far away from a chaos run like this, okay? But the ones you obviously would want to avoid is probably the max HP one, because going into a run with like 800 HP, 900 HP, it ain't it. The discard one is disgusting as well, because especially if you're running 1 DPS unit. Do you know how many times I've done a run with neglect, and I'll bring 9 as my solo DPS, and it will just keep discarding my Hue for some reason? Is annoying as hell. So my advice could be, if you got the discard one, probably bring 2 DPS units. If you got Plague, you know, you could make do with it. The Tyrant 4 does suck, but it is still doable. You just gotta be careful if you're able to put enough DPS out. So even with Tyrant 4s, like, I might even also bring 2 DPS units as well, just so I'm able to deal much damage before they start doing a whole bunch of attacks. Because you gotta remember, their attacks getting increased, and a lot of these enemies also have all these morales and stuff that they could do. So it's important to actually kill them really quick. But obviously, if you could avoid Tyrant 4s on your tier 15s, then amazing. I think probably Tyrant 4 is probably the most annoying one out of all of them. So if you could do something to avoid that, like refresh to avoid the Tyrant 4 on tier 15, that would probably be the go-to. I think all the other ones you could work around with, like max HP is kind of whatever. Yeah, it does suck, but you can complete a chaos run with like 900 HP. The Fortitude, the truth is, your goal would probably be to kill every enemy within 3 turns anyways, right? This discard one, you could go around that by bringing 2 DPS units, in my opinion. I think I have another tier 15 here, yeah. The credits one, my workaround around it is to just go to a whole bunch of question marks. And, you know, when I get a whole bunch of gear, I just sell all of them. Or the question marks where they just give you credits, I choose those ones. So yeah, you can work around with the credits one. It's really not that difficult, honestly. Even with the minus 70%, like literally I'll do this chaos run and I'll still end up with like 600 credits at the end somehow. So yeah, a lot of them you can work your way around. I'll probably say Tyrant and the discard one is annoying, but with the discard 2 DPS units, Tyrants 4, it does suck, but you're just gonna have to hope you could do as much damage as possible. And on top of all of the things I said, memory fragments, your potentials on the characters, making sure they're leveled up to the max potential, just so you are dealing as much damage as possible or healing for as much and has as much survivability as possible as well. But that's gonna be it for the video. I hope with everything I said in this video, it could help you guys out on your tier 16s runs. If you got a certain question, just let me know in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you trying to help you guys out. But that's gonna be from me. Like, subscribe, and up. Catch you guys in the next one. I'm out.